Hi everyone, this is Kelly from The Truth in Story, and I'm here to do a look at the Crow Tarot by MJ Cullinane or Naney. I'm not entirely sure. You can see right there. And this is the, as it says on the back, a limited edition backer deck. This is being produced by US Games now. I'm not sure when it is coming out, at least in the US. I don't believe it's out yet, but I could be wrong. It may be out as US Games. But this is the Kickstarter or Indiegogo, the funding version of it. Miss Set, who has a YouTube channel here, she she has a YouTube channel here on YouTube. I'll put a link down below. I don't know if she's done a walkthrough of this. She probably has. If she has, I'll put a link to it below. She had 2 copies of this, and she sent me one of the copies of this, and I'm going to send her a meditation necklace like I've been making, and which was very sweet of her to do. And so I'm going to take, I actually have skimmed through this. I haven't used it yet. I want to use it tonight actually, and so I need to do the walkthrough of it so I can go ahead and shuffle it and use it. And I actually am, from the first initial walkthrough, I liked it more than I thought I would. I was really hesitant on this. I love that it's crows. Ravens and crow kind of energy are obviously, if you've been around my channel, you know that's a big deal for me. It is very much a Rider-Waite-Smith deck, but, and I've heard mixed reviews about it, some really positive, some kind of so-so. It is a collage type deck, which isn't always my favorite, but I have to say, first look, I kind of like it, but I haven't looked, through it closely. So we'll see where that comes out. Again, it was Indiegogo. I didn't think it was Kickstarter, but a special Indiegogo backer deck, and then it is being already put out by US Games. So it was. I don't know any of the details. I didn't back it. I don't know if it was one of those that it went through the backer phase and was immediately picked up by US Games. I don't know any of the details there. It has a little white book that does. I see it mentions the crow here. So you get a nice little paragraph for each one, like the tower is pretty nice here. Yeah, because it talks about the sun. The crow stands fearlessly on the back of a glistening white horse. From what I could see, it was a pretty, if you're comfortable with Rider-Waite-Smith, it's pretty easy to be able to pick up on what's going on. But it does have that. We'll pick one out at least to read and see what how that reads. This is a normal tuck box. I do not know the box that it's coming in with US Games. I know nothing about that yet. Here is the backing, which is kind of like looking through a kaleidoscope of crows, which is kind of cool. And then you'll see the fronts have, for the majors, they do have this sort of bracket up along the top and the bottom, which, I would prefer actually just to have it all been like this, with the name of the major on the bottom of it. But it does, obviously make it stand out that it is a major arcana. Yeah, I think I would have just preferred, I like the look of the minors a lot. And then the minors, you'll see there are a variety of colors. These aren't color coordinated to the minors. I think it's more to the actual card, but I quite like the look of that. That doesn't bother me too much at all. This is the only part here that feels a little bit busy. A thank you card, because of your support for the crow, this bird has grown into her wings. So there's a thank you card there. So that's kind of how they're set up. The cardstock is okay. It's kind of satin. I don't know. It kind of feels like maybe, I don't know if it's US Games. I feel like it's not Make Your Playing Cards. It's a little bit sleeker or slicker. So I'm guessing, it's not great cardstock, but I'm guessing it will riffle shuffle decently. It kind of feels like a I feel like Make Your Playing Cards might be This seems glossier. So maybe this is a, I don't have a lot of Game Crafter, or is it called Game Crafter? The other one that's, I like Make Your Playing Cardstock the best of the kind of print your own deck style. So I'm kind of guessing this is Game Crafter, but I don't know. We'll see how it shuffles. It's not bad. It's just not, you know, anything like amazing or anything like that. But I might absolutely, and you can feel it clicking. But there are some really good decks that do that as well. So I may end up taking that back when I go to shuffle it. So I'm not holding myself to it until, but it's not super glossy. It's more like a satin. The back seems glossier than the front. That's pretty glossy. Whereas the front feels maybe a little less glossy. I'm not sure. It's like a satin, but then the back feels more glossy. Again, none of this is going to matter, sorry. So I probably shouldn't even talk about all that because the cardstock and everything like that is going to be completely different on the US Games. It's going to be obviously US Games cardstock, which I'm fine with. So here we have the Fool. We have a crow here. It's a beautiful image sitting on a log. Looks like he's almost floating on a log in a river. Just kind of, yeah, he's like floating along. Let's see what the guidebook says, just so we can hear the guidebook. Unafraid, the crow does not waver a bit and has faith that the log and the river will provide a great adventure. In the distance there is a wind blowing, whistling a warning, but the crow remains faithful, knowing that despite how stormy or choppy the waters may become in the future, the log will keep her afloat. Of course, she can also fly whenever she wants. The Fool card asks that you have faith in the universe and to live fearlessly. You will come through the storm. If you allow hope to replace fear, imagine the adventures you have waiting. I like that it's not a dog like at her feet, you know, she's a crow. So I like that it's the wind whistling a warning. That's kind of cool. So I mean, I like this image a lot. Again, I think this is one of those, if you're comfortable with, you know, the basics of tarot, I feel like this would be so far from my first flip through. This would be pretty easy to read. It says the Fool right there, right? The Magician, you have the pentacle, the sword, the cup, and the wand in hand. I like the wand in hand like that. You've got the mountains, you've got the roses, the, you know, the red and the white flowers. There is that sense, he looks like he's wings spread open, like he looks like he's got the power. I've got the power, right? He looks like he's got it and he's confident and he's going to wield that wand. I really love this. The veil's a little strange. It's a collage thing, right? I'm sometimes collage decks just are like, okay, I don't really understand why, but it's the idea of the veil between, which you often see the curtain behind the High Priestess, but this looks a little bit like a wedding veil, which is a little strange to me, but I like the concept. If I don't think of that veil actually being on its head or anything, the High Priestess takes a spark created by the Magician and transformed into tangible reality, like a shadow passing through the night. Perched on the moon, surrounded by the 4 suits, so you see the 4 suits still, which you don't often see in High Priestess. So you're almost seeing that power, masculine and feminine power here of the Magician and the High Priestess there. Active at this time should be utilized, la 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 la. Yeah, I don't really think of the High Priestess as taking the Magician's power and manifesting it into tangible reality. For me, that's what the Magician does. The High Priestess for me is for going behind the veil or dropping into the waters. So while I may not agree with this text, I can certainly use this image as a High Priestess. The moon here is really nice. And I actually like the addition of the 4 suits because I do think she has access to them all. The pomegranates are there. A representation of a veil is there. So, I mean, I can use that no problem. Here we have the Empress card. Now, this is an interesting... this looks a little stuck in there. Like, that's an interesting symbol there. She has lifted the warmth that radiates her connections to the planet. A message to pamper yourself. Yeah, I definitely don't see the Empress as saying go pamper yourself. You know, she's a powerful And I love this. She's flying over her domain. We see all of the fruits here. We see the fertile forest. We see the river here, which I quite like because I always think of the river from the High Priestess running to the Empress. So again, not so sure about the text here, but I don't think you need the text for this deck. And so, you know, it says the Empress there. There's nothing here that doesn't say Empress to me, so that works fine. This one is an interesting one because it doesn't quite look as crisp as the other ones. I don't know if you'll be able to see that in the images. Whereas the images here look really crisp, the images on this Emperor don't look to be as crisp. It stands out when you kind of shuffle through the thing. I noticed it right away that it almost looks slightly blurry on the Emperor. But otherwise you have, you know, a crow on a, you know, throne. We have the Aries ram here. You have the mountains here. He's just the, you know, the solid, enduring, powerful energy. Not my favorite from the blurriness and even just kind of the stuck in items, but it's collage. That's what it's supposed to do. And it certainly is the Emperor. Here we have the Hierophant in a very traditional, you almost feel like as above, so below, more magician-y. But you have that traditional with the supplicants here. You have the key. You have the stained glass behind it. It's quite obvious as the Hierophant. Again, this is a Rider-Waite-Smith, and it holds true to that. The Lover's card, you have the two lovers, you have the two trees, you even have the snake that you'll sometimes see in some of the more traditional decks. You have the heart here. You have them kind of flying off up here. You know, it's a Lover's card. It works for me. Here we have the Chariot. It looks like motion, movement. It's in flight. You get some references almost to the world here. You get a little bit of references even maybe to the High Priestess. But you certainly have that sense of motion and confidence and moving under your own power. I actually like this one. We have the lion with the crow on his nose. It's kind of cute. You know, it's a play on the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith strength card. I love this Hermit. Look at A, I love the tree. B, look at it sitting there with the lantern in its mouth. I really love that Hermit. Wheel of Fortune. I'm not a huge fan of the art of Wheel of Fortune cards, so this one is fine for me. You've got the 4 symbols at the corner. You've got the spinning here. You've got Venus. I'm not sure what that is. It's probably alchemical. So you've got those kind of symbols there, but it works as a Wheel of Fortune. It looks like a Wheel of Fortune. I think maybe because my expectations weren't super high for this, it's like, okay, I can see these, and there's a bunch of crows. I love crows. Justice with the scales and the blindfold, and the sword is here. Sorry about Belle. The Hanged Man looks a little tangled up here, that's for sure, over some poppy fields. There's another Hanged Man in a poppy field. I can't remember which deck it is. I want to say like the Victorian Flower Fairy, something like that, where there's somebody is upside down sniffing the poppies. But I mean, it looks like a Hanged Man with a crow. I actually really like this death card. You see the death, you see the feathers, you can see the skeleton through here, but then you see that spirit sort of rising up into this lighter, you know, the new day kind of feel for it. I think that's great. Here we have the Temperance card. It's really beautiful texture in the cups, pouring the cups back and forth. A little odd that, you know, he's got a cup in his mouth. Like, I don't know that we needed to do that, but it certainly looks like the Temperance card and is acknowledged. You know, you can see it instantly as the Temperance. Very cool. This is really sad because instead of course, 2 people chained, we have a little, is that a bluebird chained up there, which is kind of sad, but, you know, same kind of concept. In the middle of a river of blood atop his latest prey, the devil is perched solidly in his convictions and uninterested in the lives he has destroyed. Chained, He channels his charming nature, chained yet able to free herself if she sincerely wished to, as a little bird symbolizing purity and a free spirit that has succumbed to the forceful demands of the devil. So it does acknowledge it could escape if it wanted to. It's that abdication of power that's there. So, I mean, I think for a crow deck, this is a pretty good devil card. Here we have the Tower, which is so interesting, right? Instead of the Yads, we have the crows here. Obviously, a crow is going to do okay falling out. It does have wings, but they're probably very disoriented by the storm, by the lightning, by the top of the tower falling down. We see sort of cloud or smoke bank, so they can't see very clearly. So I still think you get a really good feeling of disorientation there with the Tower card. I love the Star card. I love us in the flow of the water. I love it. The Moon is interesting because we have a salmon here instead, or a fish. I think of salmon for wisdom. I love the crow in the Moon. Like, that's awesome. And it's interesting that we have the wild free crow and the caged crow instead of the domesticated dog and the wild wolf. I really like that. You know, I don't like the babies on the horses, so I can take a crow on a horseback way more. I like how he's looking back. He's kind of like, you got sharp claws there, dude. Be careful. I like that we still have some of the symbology. Again, we've got the sun, we've got the sunflowers, we've got the red sash and the white horse. So all of those kind of base symbols that you would use in the Rider-Waite-Smith are certainly there. We have the calling up of judgment. I like the standing meditation stones here. We have the rising birds where we can kind of see their skeletons through there. Again, it's a traditional judgment card with crows in it. And I think it works really well. Here we have the world card. Again, we've got the 4 things here, as well as the laurel wreaths and the crow in the middle, of course. And that brings us to the minors. So here we have the Ace of Swords, which I think is gorgeous. I actually quite like that card. Here we have the 2 of Wands. Now, this to me starts to feel a little more pippish. Even though there's scenes here and there's crows, I don't feel like it's overly locked yet into meaning. So some of these I really enjoy. Like, I think this is a gorgeous 2 of Wands. 3 of Wands. This is interesting, right? It's kind of like holding, pushing something back and allowing this energy to come through. We've set our plans into motion and we're waiting now for that to kind of flow through the opening that we've created. I like that. We have that traditional, this is really, you know, traditional with the 4 wands and the, you know, the sort of decorative here. We're stopping to have a celebration. We do have the discord in the 5 of Wands, but this can just be disruptive energy, which is what the 5 of Wands can be. It's not always negative to me, it's just disruptive. And this feels disruptive and like a lot of energy bouncing around. We get that sense of, you know, triumph here and other people acknowledging a triumph here, which is traditional Rider-Waite-Smith. With the 7 of Wands, this is interesting, right? So we've got which is kind of holding your ground against people that might be attacking. He definitely has the higher ground. I think this is some interesting things you could do with that sense of growth that comes from the stable surface that he's found as well, because I think of growth from stability with 7s. So this works. Again, definitely Rider-Waite-Smith, but it's a little more open to interpretation. This is very traditional, that flight and that movement, but there's nothing here that says that you couldn't, you know, this is mastery, all these wands. He's flying confidently there. You could go, I think, from a mastery standpoint or the traditional swiftness of the Rider-Waite-Smith. It's pippish enough to work for me. Excuse me. Here we have the 9 of Wands. 9 of Wands is about a lot of energy for me. Hold your ground. Yes. You're almost done. You certainly see that. He's just got one more wand to put into place. Again, pippish enough, and it works. I love this. Same sort of thing. We have that full, he's pulled everything together into a bundle. He looks like he's able to carry it, maybe not high up in the air, but he's able to handle the energy. So that works for me. So then we get into the courts, where of course we have the page. We do have a horse in the night. We have the queen with her lions. This is the Queen of Wands. And then we have a lions for the King of Wands as well. So we have that cat energy, that large cat. Now, you'd think that this would be two, you know, female lions, or maybe both, but they're the both of them are male lions. But that sense of large cat, powerful energy that you have there. You do have the lizard there, which you often see as well. Beautiful Ace of Cups. Two of Cups. A lot going on here for Two of Cups, but yeah. Three of Cups, kind of everybody's drinking together, which is cute. Four of Cups, see this I don't mind because you don't get that sense of boredom here. I don't read Rider-Waite-Smith Four of Cups, so there's just a sense that there are four cups here. There's a stable emotions. We don't see storm clouds, like everything is sort of set to go, but certainly a Rider-Waite-Smith reader could read that with no problem. Here we do have that sense of the Five of Cups and sorrow here and with his posture, but that's okay. Five is disruptive. Cups are emotions. Disruptive emotions are going to be, you know, going to leave you feeling like that. So that makes sense. Here we have the Six of Cups, that sense of nostalgia. You know, I don't really see any. This to me feels more Pip-like than anything, which works for me. Seven of Cups, you have that traditional with all the things in there. Again, I like it because as a, you know, non-Rider-Waite-Smith reader, this doesn't stop me from reading stability, growth from stability, ability to make the choices here, having that stable rock and that feeling of solidity, allowing those a period of decisions to be made. And certainly as a Rider-Waite-Smith, this idea of making sure you're choosing what's important when you have all these choices at the table. Love this Eight of Cups. The cups are all upright. He's kind of good. It's time. He's looking in this direction, like it's time for this inward journey. Nine of Cups, that wish fulfillment card. Looks like all this bounty that's here, which then grows into that full-on happily ever after in the nest. We've got the next generation here. We've got the canary singing. Everything is wonderful. Coming up roses. You know, it does feel like the 9 and 10 of Cups. Which brings us to the Page of Cups with a little water theme going on here. The Knight of Cups with the horse. Then we have the Queen and the King of Cups with moons over them. I quite like that. Let me go back here. So we had all the suns. I didn't notice it with the other ones. We have the suns. You don't really see it in these two, but certainly over you have the moons with the cups. And you have the water creatures, looks like dolphins or sharks or something here, that you have instead of the lions. So I like that. This one's a little bit busy with all of the little more, but the sense of abundance there with the queens. That brings us to the Swords, my favorite suit. I know this is where it's probably going to get Rider-Waite-Smithy because it is Rider-Waite-Smith. Beautiful Ace of Swords. I love it. Love this Two of Swords. This is good for me. Like, it's okay, right? We have the traditional 3 swords in the heart. It's a physical heart instead of a, you know, hypothetical heart, metaphorical heart, or symbolic heart, I guess I should say. But, you know, we've got this, it's interesting because this crow is watching that crow fly away, but you also have that sense of rising up above your problems, because for me the number 3 is a number of growth and the swords are the suit of the mind. So this works for me. You had this 3 swords in the heart even back with the older 14th the decks in the 1400s as well, so it's not a new symbol, but I quite like that right there. This is the one I don't usually have an issue with, the Four of Swords, but that looks like a dead crow. Generally the Four of Swords is read as sort of taking a step back. You're going to get back into battle. I don't think crows sleep like that. But it does, you know, what are you going to do? Five of Swords, we definitely see the battle and the disruptive energy of the Five of Swords. Battle at what cost? That kind of energy. Fives are disruptive, so that's okay with me. I really like the Six of Swords. We have that sense of movement. Does have a very pippish feel to it. We do see where feathers have fallen, so that battle area going into a better place that you often see, of course, with the Six of Swords. I quite like that. Seven of Swords is that traditional taking of the swords and what in the heck is going on. But this can be very pippish feeling too, just because of the crows and the swords. Beautiful traditional Rider-Waite-Smith Eight of Swords. Nine of Swords. I really like the moon again here. We've got a lot of stuff going on. This is generally the Nightmare card. And we do see a skull here. We see the cage, you know, what would be a crow's nightmare. So we have a cage there. But again, I think this can be just a lot of mental energy, which is how I read it. That can really get your mind trapped in a road, you know, just blah, blah, blah of mental energy. So that works for me. You know, of course, we have our traditional Rider-Waite-Smith Ten of Swords. Nothing wrong with that if you read Rider-Waite-Smith. I'm glad there's not blood everywhere. You know, we can still definitely see swords. That he is under the weight of a lot of mental energy for sure. Beautiful Page of Swords. Again, we have the horses in all. That's really pretty. We have the Queen of Swords. I don't see any animals except for the ravens here and the king and the queen. We do have astrological symbols. I don't know that we've seen that in... I guess I feel like I have seen a couple, but I don't know, like, let's say in the kings. Do we have those maybe in all the kings? There's the king. Nope. So that one's just kind of thrown in there, I guess. Beautiful Ace of Pentacles. I love that. Two of Pentacles, trying to balance himself on the turning lemon scott. Here we have the Three of Pentacles. I like that working together. Four of Pentacles, of course, has that traditional grasping, weird, you know, because that to me looks a little bit strange with the crow. But for me, it's about, this is a time to hold on to your resources. And so that works, at least because we don't have facial expressions. It doesn't have that greedy look. This is a beautiful, beautiful Five of Pentacles. How pretty is that? I like that. Go up into the tree. Fly birds into the tree. You don't have to be out on your own. One of my favorite cards, Rider-Waite-Smith style cards, is the Five of Pentacles, and I really like that. Six of Pentacles kind of weighing, and I like that it's fish, right? It's things that a crow would actually use, even though we do have the scales here. Seven of Pentacles, things are growing. This is an awful dead looking tree for that idea of waiting for things to kind of come into fruition, but you get the point. The Eight, that sort of really kind of mastering things. Now that is, you know, you often see where they're working hard at things, and there we can see what he's worked at. You can also kind of see where the Seven kind of waiting for that has, you know, borne fruit, I guess. Interesting Nine of Pentacles with the wolf or husky or something. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, that sense of luxury there where you normally would see a woman with the bird of prey. Let's see if we can see if it tells us anything about it. 9. The crow in harmony with nature sits upon a wolf as the sun casts a loving. The wolf is at peace, unbothered by the bird, representing the quietness of spirit and ability to control one's emotions. In the distance, a dense green tree. So there's that sense of abundance. There's definitely a sense of abundance and luxury here. But that means it's kind of being at one with nature. And then you have that full, beautiful, sort of generational, full-on abundance, all of the different crows here. So yeah, it does feel like the 10 of Pentacles. Beautiful page. I like the staidness and the solidness of like that Clydesdale. I love those in Knights of Pentacles. And then we have the Queen of Pentacles. Certainly a lot of abundance here with the King of Pentacles. There, we see the rabbit here. I don't think there's a rabbit in that one, but they feel very King and Queen of Pentacles. So there we have it. Really, I like a lot of them. I'm not, again, always a huge fan of collage decks, but I feel like one of the benefits of this type of a deck is that even though this is very clearly Rider-Waite-Smith, this shuffle's fine. Yeah, that shuffle's actually, riffle shuffle's really nice, actually. Yeah, I like that. As a riffle shuffler, I will say that's some smooth shuffling. Smooth bridging. So yeah, I mean, I think that I was really hesitant about this deck. And for a couple of reasons, because I don't really love collage decks, and because I knew it was very Rider-Waite-Smith, you know, that was its purpose. There's nothing wrong with that. That was the intent of, and it succeeded in that attempt, I think. But it does leave it, I think, a little more open because of the crows. Keeps it a little bit more Pippish-like in some cases. So let's just kind of see. So here we have the Fool smack in the middle. I'm just going to do sort of my larger tableau. I feel like that's actually one of my least of favorites, simply because I don't think of, it doesn't look like it's resting. It should be kind of snuggled down in a nest or something. I do like that Hanged Man. I really love that Five of Pentacles. You know, you definitely, because of all of the different color borders, and then of course it's a collage, so there's a lot of energy going on. It's definitely busy to look at in a larger spread like that, but I do think the borders help. Like this, I'm sure somebody has probably trimmed these. I personally would not trim these, simply because I found with busy decks like, say, the Paulina Tarot, which I trimmed, and it was one of the ones that I really regretted trimming because that sort of created a buffer between the busy nature of the deck. And so this is not one that I would trim the edges on. Not to mention, I actually do really like the collide. It would kind of mess up this back, which is pretty cool looking. Would I use this in a straight up larger reading like this? I'm not entirely sure. I have so many other decks, I think, that are less busy that I don't know that I necessarily would. But I would, like, I think what I'll be trying this out in is, you know, I have a couple more earthy sort of style readings that I do, where one of them I have like 3 cards on the side, and I don't really have anything yet that feels like it works in those places, and having the crow in that energy in that might actually really work, and so it would just be 3 cards, and I think that that might work well in that format. And I think in the one that I want to do today, which is an animal, but I want a tarot in, it would just have 4 versus all of them. So it's a little bit busier deck because it's collage, and that's going to happen in a lot of collage decks. But I will say that I'm actually pleasantly surprised. This is, I enjoyed looking through this. I would say the only one for me, and I don't know if that's been I don't really know if anybody's had any issues. The only one would have been that Emperor that doesn't look crisp in the artwork, where it almost looks like in the Emperor card, something kind of went wrong with how it stretched it for printing. I don't know. It's slightly blurry right here. It's pixelated. It's almost like this image was too small, and so when it was brought up to the right size, it lost its pixelation, and so you can see between all the other ones, it looks pixelated. Now that may be something that is fixed in the US Games version. I don't know. So if anybody already has the US Games version and can check their Four of Pentacles, or their Emperor, I would be interested to know whether that's something that gets fixed in the US Games version. But other than that, they all look quite crisp. And well put together in terms of that kind of thing. And I even think that the collaging is done really well. It's a collage deck. They're supposed to be, you know, things put together, but it looks like nicely leveled. They blend in together, I think, the way that they need to. Some, you know, do better at that than others, but they don't look, for the most part, like things are just stuck on randomly. So that's, even this, where there's so much going on in this one, they all seem to be on the same layer, like they've been layered together well. This piece here sticks out really the most, I think, of others as being sort of stuck in. Like, I would have loved this minus that, because that to me a little bit stands out not being necessary. Those are just my calls, but if you look at some of these, they're really beautiful. So I'm really glad to have had a chance to look at it. I do think it's a deck that I will get some use out of. I'm going to give it a go, see how it does for reading. I don't think you'll have any trouble working with this if you're comfortable with the Rider-Waite-Smith system. I don't think you'll have any issue with it. And if you're not, I think, again, in the minors, there's enough of a pippish feel to it that I think that most you can get around most of the cards that often don't translate well for Rider-Waite-Smith decks for people who don't read Rider-Waite-Smith's system. So that's, I think, is a plus in my favor. If I were to change anything, it would probably be to take that off, that top thingy off of the majors, but it does make the majors stand out from the minors. But I would have preferred them all to be like this. But that's personal preference, so that's not a criticism, it just would have been my preference. So there you go. I hope this, again, I don't know where and when this is going to be available from US Games. It may already be available, but this is not the US Games version. So I don't know what gets changed on that. We'll have to wait and see. If there's any major changes, I might pick it up and you know, do a comparison. But I'm actually more pleased with it than I expected to be. So thank you, Miss Ossette, for giving me the opportunity to check this out. And I will use it and try to, I'm really due, it's the end of the year, so I'm due to kind of go, I'm going to have to go back through my reviews over the last while since I've done an update, which has been a while, and kind of do an update on how all of the decks that I've done reviews, what do I think about them after I've been using them. So I'll try to get in using this a little bit before the end of the year, so I can do that update video in the end of December and give you kind of an update on how it is to act, because, you know, it can be different. My first impressions can be different than what it is after working with and using a deck. So I will try to get some usage in so that I can update you that this at the end of the month. So I hope this helps, and I hope that you guys all have a wonderful day or night, whatever it might be when you're watching this.